But if you had to describe Jake in one word, what would it be?
Driven.
And why?
I mean, I guess his training philosophy demonstrates it. He's just a guy who, one way or another, will find a way to be outstanding at something.
Expect the unexpected with Jake and just try and kind of embrace it. None of us have the sort of drive and the focus that he has, which is unusual, I think, the sort of level at which he sort of throws himself into stuff.
I remember him saying if I couldn't run, I wouldn't want to exist.
Running's like an obsession. I'm completely addicted. Because you have to be. As in, to run 3 times a day, you have to be obsessed. You can't just be a normal person.
At that point, I'm thinking he's never going to run again.
Could have been the end of his running career. I probably thought it was at the time, but for Jake it was just like, okay, we do that and we get on with it.
No injury that I could ever have will ever even touch the surface compared to 3 years of no running.
I think if I'd have stayed in the UK, I just know there's things I do in training now that I wouldn't have ever done.
Here he comes, breasting the tape, Britain's Olympic hopeful.
That became a big part of his identity, Jake's the runner.
I can't think of anything.
But did you think that you were different?
No.
You don't think that you're different?
Oh, maybe now. But I'm not sure at what point I thought that. Like it's hard to, the problem is it's hard to actually remember too much before about 10 years old.
If you could tell us your name and how you're related to Jake.
So my name's Chris Barraclough, and I'm his dad.
So I'm Nicola, I'm Jake's mum.
So I'm Archie and I'm Jake's brother.
I'm Laura and I'm Jake's sister.
Jake Barraclough, 28, and that is me. The man, the myth, the legend.
So what was the order of the kids?
So Jake's the oldest, then 2 years younger is Archie, and then nearly 3 years younger is Laura.
And how do you pronounce the surname? That's the thing we were struggling with.
Barraclough.
What's your first memory of Jake?
Well, I was there at his birth, so it's pretty, I mean, I go all the way back. I even go back to his conception, to be perfectly honest, you know. So, yeah, I mean, I think the first baby you have, you kind of wrap in cotton wool. And so I just remember with Jake leaving the hospital, Kingston Hospital, which is in South London. And we drove home at a snail's pace because there are road bumps and we thought he might break. The third child, you're driving over those speed bumps at 60 miles an hour. The third baby can look after themselves, they're fine, they're robust. But the first one, you haven't got a clue what you're doing. So you're kind of making it up, I think, as you go along.
The key thing about Jake is, I think that he's physically very active and energetic. That's like the essence of him. But as a very young baby, sort of socially, he was very reserved.
He was watching the world, he was very observant. He was always crying, so up late at night with his mum, you know, soothing him, invariably his mum, to be honest.
And then kind of once he got to be able to be mobile, that's where he kind of took off and found his sort of thing in a way. So he crawled, he walked really young, like he walked at about 9 months.
Before his brain had certainly developed, so it was a nightmare, this kid wandering around at really young age.
As soon as he could walk, he was sort of into everything and needed a lot of, just occupying, finding ways to kind of stimulate him so that he wouldn't become unsettled, I guess.
Jake, very young, went through very intense interest.
With the kind of play that he did, he was very kind of imaginative and intense and involved about it. He wasn't kind of chilled with sort of another child had come along and they could sort of, it was dinosaurs at first, and he didn't just know your basic dinosaurs, he knew every type of dinosaur and got into this imaginative world. Then it was into Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh cards and Warhammer.
Beyblades, do you remember those things? You rip them out and they'd battle, and he got obsessed by them.
Not to me!
We used to play games when we were younger, and weird things that Jake would come up with, like, okay, we're gonna drink 2 litres of water and then bounce on the trampoline and just see what happens.
We were really allowed like 20 minutes a day watching TV, and then like, it was all very limited in terms of like screens and like TV and stuff, so we kind of spent a lot of time outside. We were playing table tennis. He would never kind of let me win. He would always be very competitive, and we would play even just like playing Monopoly or like board games and stuff. I remember like some kind of heated arguments because like he would just never kind of give in to anything, even though I'm was a few years younger.
He's sort of got this really light-hearted, funny side, but with a lot of the stuff he's done, there's not that light-heartedness. There's quite kind of intense sort of focus on whatever it is that he's doing, from just playing in the garden and Chris throwing up a tennis ball for them to catch. It matters really a lot that he gets that ball, or whether it's playing with trains in his room, the intensity of how he'd have these imaginative play scenarios.
So he went through these sort of series, and then probably around 9 or so, 8 or 9, sport.
Jake, that was 8! That was 8, Jake, I counted!
He's always been athletic. He just became pretty much obsessed by sport, and didn't matter what it was, he just wanted to do that.
He did a bit of cello for 1 year, and it was these sort of battles about practicing age 8. But he was very clear, I'm not going to do this anymore. There was no kind of sort of encouraging him into carrying on other things. He's always known what he wants, and if he wants to pursue that, he'll go for it 100%. If he's not interested, he's not going to do it.
Most of all the days we never got to live, they are so real to me. I guess we must have fooled time when we made it through to this side.
That is a tough one. I mean, I remember playing sports and stuff growing up. Football, rugby, cricket. And that's probably where I started playing all the classic team sports, getting into them.
Both of my parents have been running since they were really young. My dad was a boxer for Oxford University. He won the varsity Oxford-Cambridge boxing competition or something. I don't really know the details. But yeah, definitely like a super sporty environment, and I think also that led to it being a very competitive environment as well. Like the Barraclough family, a lot of families we know us as like the super competitive family. If someone's had 6 hours of sleep, the other person's only had 4, so they win.
I guess like for football and whatever, you do a bit of running. Like, actually it would always be a punishment usually. It'd be like if you're late or whatever, they'd send you on a lap around the grounds. But I remember even back then quite liking it. I remember everyone else probably was like, yeah, this is a nightmare. Whereas I was like, oh yeah, I'd happily just do another one.
And do you recall having fun running at the time? Because usually when you're a kid, you want to play sports. You don't want to really... Playing running, it doesn't sound like a thing.
I never remember disliking finding it boring. Whereas a lot of people, I mean, I guess like all my friends that were also doing rugby, football, they'd never want to go out on a run. Like that to them, yeah, it's like you don't play running. Whereas I guess even then I was enjoying it. Like I liked the feeling of running. It was always fun. Every year there was like one big cross-country race with like all the schools together, and that must have been year 5, so I was like 10 maybe. The first time I did it, I'd never like trained before then.
They had boys in the year above as well, so he wasn't the highest year from the group that were competing. And I remember him saying actually afterwards that morning they'd had a sort of swimming thing at school where they were doing that sort of life-saving practice thing. So he was knackered, he'd been sort of treading water in pyjamas and then came along and just sort of ran the race. And I'm just sort of spectating thinking, oh my God, right, oh God, he's, seems to be right near the front. And where's the boys from the year above?
And ended up winning that. It might have been like 3K or something, 2K, like pretty short, but without training, so I guess I had some natural talent there.
That became a big part of his identity. Jake's the runner, so whatever school he was at, they knew him as the runner.
And I remember during art class, instead of doing art, he was allowed to go and run laps around the school grounds. You'd look out the window and Jake would just like this orange figure like running around the fields. It was really strange.
I remember doing like some cross-country races when I was younger and just like feeling so much pressure because Jake would always win every race. I felt like, everyone's going to expect me to be good as well because he's like so good at running.
There was one race at school where Jake was so far ahead. He'd finished, and you pick up a ticket, and he got obviously the one because he came in one. The second kid that came in was like celebrating down the side, high-fiving everybody, and then got given the ticket number 2. It was like, what the hell is this? Jake had finished like 2 or 3 minutes before.
And it was, I guess, maybe 12, 13, when I probably had to make a choice. At that point, I'm like tiny, like skinny. It's that age where some people, like in rugby, are just absolute units. You get like these 6-foot guys, like beards and stuff. I probably had to make the call where either kind of go all in on rugby, like kind of commit more to that, or go down the running route, because they're obviously completely different sports. Like it's pretty much impossible to do both. I chose to commit to running and started phasing out the other team sports.
As well, we're down to 3. 1, 2, 3.
So he was really into his running and he was doing well. He won the county. He would do okay in the nationals, probably in top 30 in the nationals, cross country and things like that. Was never as good on the track. That's his cart horse. No, he didn't have the raw speed, but over the cross country it was very strong. And when he left his junior school, we asked where he wanted to go to school, and he said he wanted to go to Bedford. And there's a running club there called Bedford and County. It's where Paula Radcliffe went and has a long history of long distance running. And Jake got a sports scholarship at school, and there were older boys there, and he was one of the group. He wasn't outstanding. There were kids there representing the UK and juniors, GB. He wasn't doing that, but he was gradually getting better, getting stronger, getting quicker, and starting to really invest in his training. And then he started getting some very severe pains in his chest.
Race is tomorrow. How are you feeling? How are the legs?
Legs feel good. Feel probably the freshest they've felt in about 6 months. I just got a little bit of speed, a couple of little hill reps at the end. Feel quick, but I'm a little bit worried about the sun just popping up, because this is basically, what's the time? This is pretty much when the race will start. I felt like when I left the house this morning, it was pretty cool, like it felt decent, but I'm heating up now. I think tomorrow's going to be like 20 to 25, so it's pretty hot for me. Like, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan, but we'll see. Yeah, I'm hoping a little bit of cloud cover, and I'm definitely in my best shape ever, easily. So like, even if it's hot, not ideal, I reckon there's still a PB potential. So yeah, we'll just go out and rip it, see what happens. And it must have been at 14, which is when I started getting this chest pain. That was where, yeah, just an absolute saga from 14 to maybe 17. So most of like high school, pretty much, I ended up not being able to run at all. Started getting this little pain like when I'm running, and almost felt like a stitch. Like, not too bad, I guess, at first, but then it just progressed, got worse and worse and worse over time, to a point where I couldn't go for a little jog without just like stabbing. It's like someone's literally just getting a knife and just like shanking you down the middle, like every time I try and run. And at the time I was having like physios, heart scans, all these different tests, like trying to diagnose it, but no one seemed to be able to get to the bottom with it. And then eventually, yeah, we saw this guy. I guess he was some heart specialist, surgeon guy in London, and he thought it was this problem. What is it? I've forgotten the name of the condition even. Wait, median arcuate ligament syndrome. So it's like super rare. I think I was the youngest guy ever to have the surgery for it. Everyone else is like 78-year-old. Like, yeah.
The first record you broke.
yeah. I'm like just the complete opposite. It's like young, healthy. He basically said I could live a normal life. Like, I could not have the surgery. I could live normally and it would never bother me. But if I was going to play like high level sport, then it can be an issue. Like, eventually you keep running through it and basically have a heart attack, I think. Like,
I guess maybe the word live normally was kind of a trigger for you not to accept it.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
That is,
yeah.
There was no question in my mind, because it's quite a serious operation. Like, he has to read all the dangers, like all the potential side effects, which like
death,
heart attack. Yeah, literally, it's like going through like heart attack, like blood clots, bang, 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 death. Like, but that was never. I don't remember ever thinking or crossing my mind, oh, I'm not going to have the surgery, because it was basically, you just can never play sport again, never run again, or you risk. But it never felt like a risk. It was more, I never really remember being that worried about it. I more just wanted to get it on with. I was like, if this can cure it, then let's go.
Did he even like cry when he knew that he had to get operated?
I don't think I've ever seen Jake cry. I don't think so. I'm trying to remember, but I don't think he's ever been visibly tearful.
So they had to open up his chest, cut the diaphragm round this artery to heal it, wait for it to heal up. It was a big operation. He had to have a anaesthetic put into his spine. 16 years old, pretty disruptive.
It was really hard for us seeing him go through that, waiting in this cafe outside the hospital, waiting to hear that he's come through surgery because you've signed this consent form to say, there is even some risk of dying and things like that. But Jake's just there kind of going through it. And then afterwards, the pain relief didn't work properly, so half of his abdomen wasn't being properly kind of numbed, and they were giving him fentanyl and all sorts of other things. And he was in extreme pain, and I don't know if he could say he's been through pain like that since, but it was just awful to watch him.
I've woken up after being literally cut in half, like stretched open, all my like organs shifted, and I've woken up on effectively nothing, which is ridiculous. So no pain nowadays will ever even get close. It's that's such a big thing. Like the pain, there's no way I can put it in words. I remember actually, just like while I'm going through this, because again, I think I'm trying to get more drugs, but nothing's going in. So I just remember like sitting there, just like I can't speak, like I can't hear. I'm just like literally just like monk mode, like just literally just like this. And it's the most painful thing ever. Like no way I can't even describe it. So then, nowadays like the pain you feel, I guess, in a race or like in MMA, getting like actually like smacked in the face, like kicked apart, that's nothing. Like there's definitely nothing compared to the pain in like that week following that surgery.
So he then had to heal up, started running again, pain came back. Waited a bit, 17 years old, back under the knife, they did it again. Started running again, same pain. We went back to the physio who looked at him. He said, well, I didn't think it was that. I thought it was muscle. And then he got him to run with his shirt off on the track. And you could see one side of his back was weaker than the other and everything was misaligned. What was happening was when he was training at really high intensity, it was causing muscle spasm because everything was imbalanced. And it then suddenly triggered in me, I know what's happened. About 5 years before, he'd been playing rugby, club rugby, and he ball on the ground. They'd both gone for it, hit Jake at 30 kilos, this kid at 60 kilos, shoulder to shoulder, bang. Jake stayed down, and I thought, okay, he's clearly dislocated his shoulder. This kid's like more than double his body weight. But what had actually happened is he had a stinger, which is like pretty common you hear in rugby now, but I'd never heard of it back then, which is a compression of a nerve in your spine, and it sends a massive electric shock down your arm, and it basically knocks the muscles out. And Jake had like a day, or best part of a day, not being able to move his arm, and then we took him to A&E and it gradually came back, but it left a permanent weakness. I'm like bitter and twisted about it because I think he lost 4 years of training in his teens when he would have, but he kind of looks at it as a blessing. He's done something different. He's trained up his legs so they're like granite now, they don't get injured. He sees it differently.
During that time I got into MMA, so I was doing still like a whole load of cardio activity without any problem. So then actually again, this never really crossed my mind. I didn't care whether it was I needed the surgery or not. It eventually sorted out, but it might have just been a complete waste of time, and I've just gone through 4 years of for nothing, and it was actually could have been solved with some like stretching, strengthening exercises. I've got a sick scar though now. Defines the six pack beautifully. I don't know. I never ever look back on it. Even the mad thing is, every day in the mirror I see the scar, but it never registers that I had surgery. Literally ever.
Yes.
You know, they do in the US like the Daily Mirror affirmations.
Yeah.
Was that what you just did?
Yeah, that was me just meditating, getting in the zone. As I was putting the sun cream on, I'm just thinking, come on man, you can do this. You gotta give it your all today. Let's go big. Go big or go home.
Do you have some self-talk sometimes?
Nah, or only during a race. Like, if I'm like hurting really bad, like I can feel like the pace is slowing, then I'm just like shouting abuse in my head, like, like don't be a fucking pussy, like don't quit, just like basically just shouting in my head, like just keep going. That's basically it.
And if I have to give a call to Robin and like shout, like, so he will be seeing you like at the 7th kilometer, then like the 12 and 13. So, what do you wish he would shout at you? Like,
so 7, I should still be comfy. That's like, I'm still cruising. I've just had a downhill bit, but then maybe at 13, 14, that's where I just want abuse shouted at me.
Come on, Jake, come on.
Yeah, I think I performed best. Actually, yeah, the time I can remember, random side note, with when I was like 13 playing rugby, and Dad, like my dad was always so supportive, like in rugby, he's always like, well done Jay, great job, like all of that. Then one time there was like a 50-50 ball, so it's like two of us going for the same ball, and the other guy got to it first. And so, yeah, he basically like he wanted it more than me. And I think I hadn't been having a great game. And all my dad said was like, oh, that was a 50-50 ball and you lost it. And after that, I just went mental. Like, I was so pissed. And I remember just having like probably the best game ever. I was like, just like a missile, just like sprinting around the pitch, just trying to kill anyone. And that's like the rage mode. So I feel like I run better when I'm like fueled up, like I'm always pissed off. Yeah. So less encouragement towards the end, more just hurling abuse.
At that point, in terms of your running career,
oh yeah.
What are you feeling? How are you thinking about your future?
Where am I at? So I think it completely shifted in that 4 years, 4 years no running. You miss so much time. Like, I'm coming back, I'm so unfit, like ridiculously unfit. And I remember, like getting back into running, doing the training and stuff, but I'm obviously so far off where I was probably even slower coming back than I was as a 14-year-old when I like first started getting the pain. I think at the time when I had the chest problem, I'd been like kind of right near the top of the country. I think the last race I did, I beat the guy who'd won national or maybe come second in nationals the year before. So I've gone from like right there at the top to then I'm like so unfit. Like I'm absolutely nowhere. And I'd really got into MMA during the time off. So I'd replace the running with like 2 hours of MMA every day instead. And I've been loving that. I enjoyed running, but it was more at uni, like a social thing. It's like, and I guess a lot of my mates as well were probably similar to me. Like we all did, like every day we'd still train. We'd go to the group training session, but then we'd go on a massive night out after in the evening. So it was like, running was definitely not the priority. Running was great fun, but it's not like I'm at that point putting performance over everything. I didn't massively care how quick I ran.
Because it seems weird to me to imagine you not having that goal of making it into running.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I probably, if you have 4 years off, to get back to the same level, it's probably going to take 2 years maybe. And I probably wanted to see results in 3 months. The people that I used to be with are now like 5 minutes up the road from me. And at the time I'm loving MMA, and I'm probably, well actually no, definitely a lot more talented at MMA than I am at running. It's pretty clear ever since I went to an MMA gym, that I was able to hold my own against professional fighters with about a month's training. It's ridiculous. Like, it's taken me now 15 years to get to the point where I can just about hang on to pro runners, whereas I could do that in a couple months in MMA. You can like flip the tables on someone that's way more skilled, been training for like 10 years, just by being fitter than them, wanting it more. I felt at that time, I could have a career in MMA, whereas at that point it seemed like the running dream was gone.
And then he started, I don't know if you know about his rapping career.
They're talking shit like speeding fast in a foreign whip when they can't be affording it. Sporting cars in a foreign yard, I'm grinding hard, I want all of this. Soon I'll park in a foreign whip, go in France on a foreign.
And he thought he was the greatest lyricist in the country.
They're talking shit like speeding fast in a foreign.
The running became less of a focus, and he became much more a joke about it. You know, there's a film of him, you'll be able to find it, of him sprinting out in front of everybody and taking his shirt off. And, you know, it kind of made me a bit, I mean, it was funny. Okay. It made me a bit sad, because I was also like, well, you know, if you weren't carrying 15 kilograms and you were really training hard, I kind of thought you probably could be competing right up there at the front, whereas he was at the front for the first 400 meters and then everybody went past him. He probably felt, I'm more going to go down a different route. It just shifted his focus, which became mixed martial arts.
The best moments in MMA, basically sparring. So it's like, as close to a real fight as you can get. That feeling, I've never had in running. I guess I got in quite a few fights, like in school and stuff. I'd never start a fight, but always if someone started on me, I'd immediately just crack someone, like without a second thought. That sort of feeling, like after a scrap, or again, like after sparring, is just crazy. Like, it's insane high, like just ridiculous. Because there's almost a danger, like in running, there's not a danger. It's only purely self-inflicted pain. Like you push yourself so hard that you cause damage. You're hurting yourself. In MMA, someone's trying to hurt you. So it's a different type of like endorphin high, I guess, which is what I loved. But then like 95% of MMA isn't just like swinging at it with your mates or whatever. Like it's technique, it's drilling the same move. I'm thinking if I want to pursue a career in something, it's never going to work if you're not loving the training. Because the whole point of me having these obsessions is that I've never wanted to work like a 9-to-5 job. And MMA, I guess, got to a point where it kind of felt like that. Like I know physically with running, I can never get to a point where I'm competing with the top East African runners. There's like a physical genetic limit. I think in my head, I could get to the UFC, my talent's there, but I don't think I'd have ever got there because I didn't love it enough to put in the training to get there. At that point, I'm not super fit, I'm not in the realm of thinking about going pro in running, but I thought, okay, I love this to the point where I know I'm going to be able to put in the training where I'll unlock my full potential.
And do you remember the day or the moment when it flipped?
I think it was coming to the end of my masters. I'm basically at the point where, let's say I've maybe got 3 months before my masters ends. After that, I've got to give up living this ridiculous like fairy tale aspiration. I might have to actually get a job, like, which in my mind, I always see that as sort of almost a failure. And just like my worst nightmare, like sitting at a desk, 9 to 5, in London, working a job, standard pay, just the normal lifestyle. I cannot think of anything worse for me personally. No offense to anyone that has that, but just for my personality, it would never, ever work. And that's when I'm like, it clocked finally that it was like, okay, I don't love MMA enough.
He worked in a running shop for a bit, just selling trainers, but he'd got in this head because a lot of friends from Birmingham had gone to America that he wanted to go to America. But his times weren't great in terms of going to a sort of more prestigious uni, but he knew that if he could get a certain time, he could get to one of the kind of lower unis. And there was this race in Ireland, in Armagh, and I think it was a 5K.
Do you remember anything about that race in particular? Like,
oh, terrible race. I thought to get to America, I had to run under 15 minutes for the 5K. I don't know why I had that in my head. I think because I'd done a bit of research and all the guys that got scholarships there seemed to be like maybe just under 15. And so I thought, okay, I have to hit this number. I trained like really hard for maybe like 6 months. I think I was thinking the knock-on effect of me not doing that is like, that's fucked, yeah, it's huge. So we flew over there to Ireland, it's like rapid race, all the guys from the UK go over.
He'd got through the surgeries, he was sort of running okay, he'd given up the MMA at that point and just, you know, this was the next step, because what else is he going to do with his life now? He's not got a job, and that sort of sounds like a fun thing to do.
And then I ended up running like 15, 12. I remember being so gutted after that, because in my head I thought I'd blown it completely.
Do you remember calling your mother after the race?
Yeah. Yeah.
He was just exhausted, and this emotion kind of came out, and I heard, it was over the phone, but I could hear sort of choked up kind of tears.
I think that was probably the last time I cried as well. I think that must have been like 7 years ago maybe. Because like, and I'm sure, yeah, she'd have remembered that as well, because I'm like the least emotional person normally. So I think I put so much pressure on that race.
I've always chosen things on my own terms. I want to break 210 for me, not because other people will be pleased or impressed. It's purely a selfish endeavour. It's like, I want to do it for myself. From 10 till now, I've always been a runner. That's my passion. That's what everything in my life's built around. I love spending time with like friends, family, all of that. But that's a different kind of love. This is an obsession. I'm completely addicted. Because you have to be. As in, to run 3 times a day, you have to be obsessed. Like, you can't just be a normal person.
The ultimate goal is purely to get every single last bit out of my genetics, out of my natural talent, reached the absolute max I can possibly reach. That's all that matters. And if by doing that I can run a 2:06 marathon, medal in something, whatever, that's the best thing. But as long as I like finish my career, there's nothing more I could possibly have done. Because I'd say there's almost no one in history of running that can genuinely say that. Like, surely there can't be anyone that's like, I could have given a bit more, I could have done that, I could have trained a little bit harder. Surely everyone could have given a bit more.
I asked him once to describe what it's like in those final 5-10 kilometers of the marathon, and he was like, it's living hell. Like, it's literally awful. Like, in that moment, I never want to run again. Like, I am broken, and you can tell that it's almost traumatic, because after the Tokyo Marathon, emotionally, I think it took him time to kind of recover from that. It's like putting your mind and body through this insane trauma, and that takes recovery. And he said definitely, like, there's a mental weight that lasts after he's finished the race, not just a physical one.
I guess I have to work harder than everyone. I like the thought that I'm putting in more work, like I'm running more mileage than every other pro on earth, pretty much. I've not seen anyone that's done more than me ever. I quite like that idea, yeah.
Do you wish sometimes like that voice in your head that you need to always train the hardest you can? Do you just wish for one day that voice would shut down?
Oh, it's never crossed my mind.
It was the same time I listened to the Way of the Runner audiobook, where I found out about the Japanese running scene. They're no more talented than the Europeans, the Americans. They're probably even less, like genetically, like tiny legs, long body. That's almost the worst thing possible for running. And so I was thinking, okay, they've managed to get to a point where they're the third best country in the world for marathon running with very little natural ability. There's something in the culture, the drive there, the training, whatever it is, that I wanted to find out about.
And it was suddenly that book, like, kind of was the Kickstarter. Then I started doing more and more research, looking into it, finding out that for the East African dominance in the last 20 years, it was actually the Japanese era. They were cleaning up everything. And that just, yeah, I don't know, resonated with me. Effectively, they are the epitome of train harder, not smarter. They're so old school. They train more than any other country on earth, like the mileage-wise, and I think they outperform way more talented runners by training harder than them. So that's what I'm trying to do. That literally sums up my whole running journey. So that was like the perfect, okay, I've got to go there. I just know there's things I do in training now that I wouldn't have ever done if I was still in the UK. No one's doing some of the sessions that the guys are doing here. So if I've never seen it, I've never heard of anyone doing it, why would I have ever tried it? Because I've seen people doing triple running days. That doesn't exist. No runner in Europe of any level is doing triple run days. It wouldn't cross someone's mind that that's an option. Whereas like suddenly you see middle schoolers, like 14-year-olds, they've been double daying. By the time they're in high school, they're doing triple days. That's just completely normal here, so it's not out of the question. So it's just something about, I guess, the culture, yeah, it's connected with me that I think I did. For me to get the absolute most out of myself, I think I had to come here.
I've not got near that pace before. I've done maybe like 70-second laps for 1k run. I'm like, that feels okay, but yeah, every little few seconds more, I'm reaching my carport limit. But actually today, I surprised myself. I averaged basically 67 all in it, and even cut it down to like 66 at the end.
With a filthy 63 final 400. I think I went through 200 in probably a PB, about 30 seconds. See, I reckon the speed's there. Like, I'm easily the best place speed-wise I've ever been. And now, yeah, I'm ready to just rip a little 5K. So all that's left is to hit the parkrun start line and soak in the vibes.
So as soon as he had decided, okay, I want to make a living out of running, and then whilst he was in London recovering from the hip surgery, he was basically, as you said, like cooking up this plan where you might see his videos and you can tell a lot of time goes into it. But even before he started filming, he had a spreadsheet that was pages and pages long of the plan of how he was going to get viewers and how he was going to become a YouTuber. And every video was planned out to the minutiae because he's very good at putting the time in. When he cares about something, he can like spend hours and hours on it.
Testing the microphone. Okay, we're going to be recording the ding. 1 more second. Okay, here we go. 1 month. 1 month running over 1,000 kilometers in the mountains of Nagano. 1 month running over 1,000 kilometers in the mountains of Nagano, Japan's marathon mecca. 1 house, 40 girls, 1 guy, me. 1 house, 40 girls, 1 guy, me. So then when I went out to Japan, as soon as I moved there was when I was going to start long form YouTube videos. And I'd spent months planning, like I've still got the document here. I think it's, at this stage I still use it, but it's probably like a 50-page document. Okay, here we go. The very first thing that I wrote was the goal. Be the fastest runner I can possibly be. Make a career out of running, brackets, regardless of how fast I am. The problem, running. Highest participation out of any sport globally, but one of the lowest viewership. People don't know or care about elite runners. So then the aim, appeal to a wider public outside of the die-hard running scene. Key takeaways from other sport, what makes them good. A narrative, storyline, it's highlighting someone's personality. And that's what running has none of. I wasn't sure that I'd ever get to a point where I could go pro. Like maybe my limit was like a 2:20 marathon, because I was so far off that I had no idea where the fixed point is. But I'm just thinking, I can make a full-time career, I can do what I love, which is run, and not necessarily have to be one of the best in the UK or whatever by having this YouTube channel. So that was like my income source, how I was going to fund the running dream that I was going for. In other sports, there's the head-to-head, like football. Like, I hate Tottenham. I hate the Tottenham team, I hate the fans, and they hate us, Arsenal. And that's what makes it exciting. That's why the London Derby, North London Derby, is so interesting to watch. Because there's something on the line. It's like running, everyone's too pally, friendly. There's no battles, there's no head-to-head. I learned editing. I learned how to make my way around Premiere Pro, voiceovers, narration, all of that. It was almost training for when I actually kickstarted the YouTube. So my first video, it's got that style. It's not actually massively different from the videos I put out now. It's still very similar feeling in a way, because I was ready. I felt like I was ready to start YouTube. From the very first video, I had this plan. I was like, turning this into a business. It's like the startup, it's like I'm launching it day one. We're going big. All a bit random. The problem is I've forgotten what I filmed here. I think I'm just going to chat about my thoughts in the area so far, basically. Just like give an update on what I reckon about Akayu or Nanyoshi. So out here, it's actually so sick. The scenery is just crazy. Nothing like this anywhere around Tokyo, anywhere nearby. You see, this is actually one of the tourist spots, and there's literally no one here. From a couple random camera guys, I don't know how these foreigners showed up, but no, it's literally crazy. So cool. That's a backup career.
Can you tell us, Jake, what's the cultural aspect of this place?
So this is honouring the master erector here. It's nothing funny, this is a serious matter. He set up this unit of a torii gate. One of the tallest of its kind actually in Japan.
Wow. I can see the tip of the
tip. So the master erector formed that tip with exceptional precision.
すごい. She learnt Japanese through English through Duolingo.
Oh, really? With Duolingo?
Yeah. Because Duolingo, I've tried for Japanese, but I think it's not very good, maybe. This is what I just do for fun. I just watch my own videos in my spare time. So that's cracking entertainment. 20 hours later.
Now let's start working on the next one.
Okay. Alright, thank God. I think, we're finished.
I'm trying to like change the direction. But like, because it's much more like side to side. Yeah! I still got it!
Whoa, the speed.
Maybe we need to reenact some MMA clips. If we don't have any from before.
So I first met Jake in Font-Romeu on a training camp with the University of Birmingham in 2017, I think it was. I think he'd accidentally gone on a training camp for running instead of MMA because he took a full set of pads and boxing gloves with him.
When I first met him, I remember pretty well we had come into the athletics club together. We were both like pretty average runners, and one of the first things he said was, I'm going to qualify for Eurocross this year and get a GB vest, or I'm going to quit running.
At the time he was running about 40 to 50 miles a week, I think, and was just constantly injured. So yeah, kind of a huge change to what he's doing now.
Him and the lads above always helped me out at uni, and they're always there for me as a group. And like, I feel that's why I clicked with them, was because the banter was always good. It was always a case of like taking the mick out of each other over good situations and bad situations, so nothing was ever too serious. And I feel like because of Jake's lack of seriousness with regard to like, I just don't care what people think about me, it really helped me understand that actually you just shouldn't care.
Yeah, no, that's come with like a lot of stick over the years. People sort of laughing when he's making these big statements, and he's always done it. It was, I'm going to be a pro runner. Then it was, I'm going to be a pro fighter. At one point it was, I'm going to be a pro rapper. He's always made these big statements, and then he's always done something to back it up.
And like, genuinely am so proud of him, and I wish him all the best and the success. That inspires me, and I still talk to him now about training, and as a runner myself, it's something that you got to look up to. Is if he can do it, and he's from similar sort of circumstances to a lot of us, like why can't anyone else do it? So it is a case of, I've shown people the way, like people can do it. So credit to him and hats off, like proud of you, Jake, and lots of love to you.
And how long do you see yourself staying in Japan?
There's no timeline. At the moment, I'm not thinking about moving back. Like, I'm in no rush to move back. The next goal is to join a team, set up full time. So I'm training every day with the team. That's like the next check mark, and that will help unlock the next level in my running. So that's, at the moment, what I'm focused on, because I'm like getting closer and closer, like I'm inching my way there. So definitely if I can get that, then I'm not thinking about, I need to move back to UK. But I feel like I'm so close, yeah.
OK。ジェイクと初めて会ったのいつだろう。ジェイクと初めて会ったの、OK。 私の名前は ND ソフトアスリートクラブ監督の渡辺清弘です。OK。ジェイクの一番評価するところですか。とてもタフな選手だなって思います。1週間で300キロ、月間で1200キロぐらい走る選手っていうところで、なかなかプロのランナーでも実業団の選手でも1ヶ月で常に1100、1200キロ走ってる選手はいないので、めちゃくちゃタフな選手だなと思ってます。であとはやっぱり一人っていうのがなかなか難しいのかなっていうので、練習相手がちゃんといてスピード練習がちゃんとできればもっともっと上に行ける選手なのかなっていうのは感じました。すごく陸上がランニングが好きなんだなっていうのがすごく伝わってきて、やらされてるではなくって自分でやりたくてやってる。であと距離に対する抵抗がない、どんな距離でも走れるっていうところはすごいなと思ってます。
Pressure the camera. Had to hang on. はい。それからどんな？
さっきて5キロ3本マラソンペースで
5キロ3本
でつなぎ1キロ3分半でつないで18キロやる予定なんだけど、だから今日は動きだけ。
And how was your workout? Do you feel happy?
練習はジェイクのおかげですごいいい練習ができました。
He was a very good pacemaker.
Yeah.
It was actually the quickest ever track practice in my life, like of all time.
Yeah.
But you still wanted to take a few turns, right?
I had to take a few. It was like 1本変わりました。
おかげで本数が少なく感じるから。
竹内さん、難しすぎました。It's like one of Japan's best marathon runners. Like very, very, very.
It's nice to see like there's a Japanese, a Kenyan, and an English guy in a random city in Japan.
本当に日本田舎だけど、like アジア人、アフリカ人、
不思議だよね。
本当に珍しい。
So yes, there were points where we were all probably like, oh my gosh, like what does he think he's doing? I think deep down we all knew that it was going to work out because he has this work ethic like I've never seen on anyone else.
And I think that drive has always been with him, and whatever things he's been through, he seems to, he doesn't hold it in him still in an emotional way. He just sort of, it's just an obstacle to pass to lead him on to the next thing. And for me, I can't believe he's running really, let alone competing at the level he is. And that's the sort of weird thing, is that it doesn't feel like his body's made to be a runner, and that he's had already sort of this surgery in the hip as well, where the cartilage came away and they discovered some little bits of arthritis and sort of bony spurs. And so at that point I'm thinking he's never going to run again, but he just sort of pushes himself, and so yeah, that for me it's quite hard watching, because you just never know when it's going to come to an end, and he's got this absolute determination, but whether his body can kind of hold up to let him push himself the way he wants to, yeah, I don't know.
The funny thing is, actually, this made me think of, so like when I started the YouTube channel, it was purely from a selfish perspective. I'm starting it to just show my running, show my journey, it's like an inward thing. And I never thought about how it would impact other people. But it's crazy that so many of the comments are like, oh, I've been watching your videos, I've been inspired to do this. Like, oh, I've been doubled my training, I've started training harder, whatever. I said that's almost half of the comments. And that's something I never thought about when I started the YouTube. But weirdly, that's a very cool part, actually. That's never been my aim, and it's never something I think about when I make the videos. I'm just showing what I'm doing, but if people can take lessons or little tips or whatever from it, then that's cool.
I mean, it is lovely when you see comments that you see it's creating a positive influence for people with the things that he's doing, which is lovely. I mean, you don't want people going out and all getting injured because they're doing too much, but you know, just that thing that, and it is a lovely message that he has about go for things, and you just never know what's possible. And you know, I find that just having 3 kids in their 20s, and all 3 of mine, they're not conventional in feeling they have to go and be a lawyer or a consultant or a banker, although they're all bright. They're all doing really different things, and they're not frightened to just try things and, yeah, come on, you know, you can do these things. And so I definitely, in the last sort of 5 years or so, have sort of really woken up to just grab opportunities. And I've worked, I mean, this is a side point and not very interesting, but I've worked for the National Health Service for 30 years. So that's our kind of health service. And I handed in my notice a couple of weeks ago.
But you kind of, I mean, in some ways, I wish I'd done more to pursue sport and seen how good you know, I know that Jake will leave nothing out there. He'll die knowing how good he was.
When you have to present your brother to someone and they ask you, what does your brother do? You say he's a runner, you say he's a YouTuber. How do you kind of define him? Before, like 2 years ago, I would not have been able to describe him in like simple terms. But now I say he's a runner.
What's your ultimate goal? It keeps shifting the quicker I get, because when I moved to Japan, it was just make a living out of running, because there was no possibility at that point that I could ever run for TV. Then it was like, okay, maybe get to a point where I could run a 2:15 marathon, sub 2:15. I'm like, maybe that's my genetic limit. Now it's like, okay, I'm set on 2:10. But already I'm not thinking 2:10, I'm thinking past that to the Olympics. Because I think I've shown enough talent in myself that that's not completely impossible. Like, it's still ridiculous. I don't have anywhere near the talent of the other guys that are at that level now. So I'm gonna have to work so much harder than them to get there. Like, that's why I'm having to train harder than any other pro runner on earth, effectively. But it's enough that it's a little glimmer in the distance. So I'm thinking Brisbane, 35 years old, a cold, chilly Brisbane winter day. That's like my long-term goals.
And then what's your ultimate dream?
Okay. Okay, win London Marathon or medal in a world, like Olympic World Champs.
Okay, nice.
Absolutely ridiculous. Like, it's so far out of reach, but it's enough where, with enough time, enough training, who knows? Like, perfect day, everything goes right. Like, there's no way of knowing. It should be physically impossible. I'm not talented enough. My genetics aren't good enough. Like, my natural speed, where I don't think that's physically possible. Like, I'm completely realistic. But might as well give it a shot. That's basically, I'm gonna go as far as I can.